on this one. This one live here. Live here. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's go. We're good.
We're good. All right, hospitality hustlers, welcome back to this week's episode. I am your host, Jeremy, with my co-host, Mr. Kyle. What's up, man?
What's up, buddy? How are you?
I am fantastic. How's your week? You're fired up from the last call you were on. I had to take you down a notch.
Yeah, I was coming in here with a totally different topic of stuff. We were going to do the one thing, and then you were like, whoa. We said we were going to do pets. I was like, oh, yeah, let's do pets.
Yeah.
I forgot.
Let's do pets.
Yep.
I'm all about it. I'm excited. Pets, I'm a dog lover myself. How about you? We got 3.
Yeah, 3 dogs.
Do you have any?
Yeah,
well,
2.
We're fostering 1, so we're about to be back down to 2 in a couple weeks. But
yeah, I got 2. We had 2 last year. We lost 1. That was pretty tragic. So we lost 1 last year, and then for Christmas we got a Christmas puppy, and went and got this little bitty lab mutt, and now he's like 75 pounds. He's like 8 months old. He's huge. He's bigger than our last dog. He's a massive dog. He's still got that massive puppy in him. The bigger the dog, the bigger the puppy. So his paws are like this big a piece, and his body is officially like grown into him, and it is insane how big he's become. So, yeah, but go ahead. Let's kick it off.
Nice.
Let's kick it off. Good content today.
Yeah. So pets, traveling with pets. Is that something that you guys do?
Sometimes. Yes and no. Depends on where we go. We like to try to take the dog. So one thing that we did is when we got the new puppy, we said, okay, like we're going to take him everywhere. Like we're going to take both of them everywhere. One of them's 9. One of them is 8 months, like 9 years old. And so he's still pretty healthy. The new puppy, keeps him pretty active. But what we decided is we're going to start taking him everywhere unless it's just unfeasible, right? So we take them to the hotel. We take them, like if we're going to find a B&B somewhere, we'll find, a pet-friendly B&B. But just because we find that it's pet-friendly, we don't always take the dogs. So that's something we talked about last week, right? It's like searching through and not following through with picking up the pet or taking the pet. So yes, we take them places. We don't take them everywhere. If that makes sense. Maybe.
Yeah, same. Yeah, we're kind of the same. But yeah, so since we're part of the statistics, I dug up some stats on pet travel.
Okay, before you dive into the stats, hold on. Before you dive into the stats, last week we talked about we had some questions, back and forth on like, should you allow pets places, right? Like if you're hosting and it's your personal property, should you allow pets? If you manage for somebody, how do you convince them to bring a pet, like to be pet friendly, right? So I know you're going to go over stats probably like, are you going to go over like what's searched or just like how many people travel?
Yeah, I don't have anything as far as searches in here. Sort of.
Okay.
I guess
that's okay.
One of them might touch into it. Yeah.
Okay. So just to recap last week, there was some stuff that we talked about, like just to like bring that back in here. So I have an Airbnb market manager that I talk to every 2 weeks. And so we manage in Blue Ridge. We have the hotel in Tennessee, which is only 15 minutes outside of Blue Ridge, and then all of our cabins in Blue Ridge. And we're talking, and she said, like, she showed me some not stats of like how many people are searching, but just the top amenities, like from top to bottom, from top like 6 or whatever. And the top amenity in Blue Ridge and in the whole market, like the whole U.S. and the whole world, is pet friendly. So people are searching for pet-friendly stuff, right? So it was a discussion we had last week, and I know we're going to dive in deep today, but like, just because people are searching for pet-friendly doesn't mean they're going to bring the dog. or follow through with bringing instead of 3 dogs, maybe only bring 1, whatever the case may be. So if you're not allowing pets, and in this market, like everything is becoming very competitive, so prices are being brought down, and it's very important, like when you rank on the list. And being pet friendly is the number one, above a hot tub or pool, whatever, is the number one searched amenity. And last week we went through like a couple of scenarios on what happens when people are searching. And it was very real, like it was a very realistic example, right? Like searching while you're in the cubicle and all that. So bringing that and diving it more deep on today of like, yes, you should be pet friendly, but a lot of us are managing for other people. So how do we like quote unquote convince them to be pet friendly, right? So I want you to dive into the stats because I would love to hear what you actually have. And then we can like just generally discuss maybe some scenarios and how to have those conversations.
All right. So the big one, I guess to start, according to the 2021-2022 APPA National Pet Owner Survey, a resounding 70% of all U.S. households own a pet. Of the 90.5 million homes with furry friends, approximately 78% of these American pet owners travel with their companions each year.
95%, is that what you said?
No, 78% of 90.5 million.
90.5, 78%. Okay.
What, 70 million?
So
roughly?
Just about everybody. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot. 58% of people would prefer to travel with their pet over a friend or family member.
Yeah, I can see that.
So to your point on searches, 52% of travelers base their travel plans on accommodating pets. And in 2019, so 5 years ago, and I can only imagine this number has gone up quite a bit. There were 404,556 animals transported by an airline.
Golly.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah.
So what does that mean to you?
That means that if you are not pet friendly, you are you're not maximizing your revenue potential, your occupancy potential. You're almost holding yourself back.
Okay.
And yeah, because I think the industry as a whole is kind of, I want to say behind the times, but people are worried. They hear one horror story. As far as most hosts, they hear a horror story from somebody, and so they're hesitant to allow dogs. Where I think if people were just to shift their mindset a little bit and think about how they are as pet owners, I think your average pet owner is very responsible and would not allow their pet to destroy somebody else's home, just like they wouldn't allow them to destroy their own home.
Okay. So if you own the home, you should be pet friendly. Now that's a different discussion. So like if you own the home, what are your goals with the home? So like, should I allow pets, right? So like, if your goal is I have an owner that wants to preserve the floors. That's it. Because they're like really soft floors. He does not, he wants it to rent, but he does not care if it makes money. He just wants to rent it so he can enjoy it. So in that situation, it'll be understanding that you may not be renting very well, but to preserve the house is a good reason not to allow dogs. But question is, do you have insurance? What do you mean when you say preserve the house? So like for him, it's the floors, and I get it. And his goals don't allow him with really making as much money as possible. But on the other hand, I've got an owner that doesn't want to allow pets, but wants to make as much money as possible. And so you question like, okay, so then you go into like thinking about why. So you have two separate, I like to see it as like two separate situations. You either own it, so what are your goals? And how do you convince an owner to allow you to own pets? So if you own the home, would you agree like it goes back to your goals if you should allow pets or not?
Yeah, absolutely.
And what would you think about, like, what would you ask yourself? Like, what are questions that you would ask yourself if you should allow pets or not?
Well, like you said, it comes down to your goals. Like you just gave a perfect example of, the two different mindsets there are. There's the one, if you're a homeowner and you want to maximize the return on your investment, and I think the stats speak for themselves that you should allow pets. But if there are health reasons, like I know, there's pet allergies, and other reasons why, or in preserving, the property, maybe you're not allowed to, or if you're an HOA, and HOA regulations don't allow pets. So like prime example, our property, our beach property in North Carolina, is in a HOA. The year before we bought, apparently the guests, and I'm flipping the coin here, but apparently the guests were not, throughout the summer, were not responsible pet owners. And so the HOA swapped the regulations to now only allow owners to bring their pets, and not guests.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was apparently it was very common that the dogs would be left outside on the decks and they would bark all day. And then I guess there were a couple of guests that got into a dog poop throwing fight.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a crappy situation.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, that's...
So, but I say that, but I'm still very much a proponent that you should be, pet friendly.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but back to your point, in your owner that wants to preserve his property, are there some things that he could do to help preserve the property, but still be pet friendly? Like, can he, work with an interior designer and put down some area rugs to cover the majority of his hardwood floors? Or are the hardwood floors throughout the entire property? So wouldn't make sense. Things like that. Provide a dog bed, as an amenity if you're going to be pet friendly. So there is, a spot for the dog to lay down. That's not on the floor.
Okay. So if you're an owner and you're trying to debate whether if you're going to allow pets, it goes back to the goals. Like, what are we doing? Why do we buy a house? And your market, right? Like most markets you have to be pet friendly, like we said before. So if you're an owner and you're going to go pet friendly, what are the things that you need to do to be like, if you're going to book well? So like just making it pet friendly, just marketing it pet friendly may not be enough, right? So things that we do, and I don't know if you do this too, but if you're going to be a pet friendly property, we have two properties that we just waived the pet fee completely. A super competitive area. So we did no pet fee, and then we put it in the title, no pet fee, like pets stay free, something like that. Dogs free or whatever. But also talking to them about like having a dog run and having like the pooper scooper set up with the bag and all that stuff, or the trash can out. We have two properties like that now, with the dog run. And then inside with like the dog bed, the crate. The crate is something that most people like overlook because you don't want to travel with a crate. The crate, the nice like dog bowl and dog food bowl, like the water bowl and the dog food bowl. That's a big one. Dog treats. So we went somewhere that was dog friendly, and it was like, I don't remember the name of it, but you walked up, there was like a dog on the mat. You walked in, there was like dog bones everywhere. It was very super dog friendly, like a little over the top in my opinion, but it was cool. Then you looked up like where the coffee is, and they had this glass container with all the dog treats in it and some dog toys. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. So I was like, hey, like everybody needs to be having dog treats at their place. If you're gonna be like full dog friendly, like you're gonna accommodate pets and accommodate dogs like heavily, then you need to be doing these kind of things, because then you can show them in the pictures, and there's no question, and people like really feel like at home, like okay, they love pets or whatever. So the dog bed, the food bowl, the treats, what else? I've seen them hold, have collars and leashes.
Yep,
like where they have
and
them
hooks
in
to
the
put the
container.
put hooks to hang them on.
Yep. And then what else was there? Pets stay free and no pet fee. So that's a big one that I think is really starting to come up.
Yeah, you mentioned that. You mentioned that last week, and that's something I think we're gonna test in our market as well.
Like the pet stay free or whatever.
Yeah, I got to thinking about it, and you figure, okay, charge $50 for a pet fee, right? And you have, I don't know, say you got 50 bookings for the year. That's $2,500. But if you don't charge a pet fee, what could that how many bookings would that have to convert to either break even or even be more profitable?
Yeah, we actually charge $200 for pet fees in Blue Ridge. It's like the highest in the market. So when we go to zero on a couple of these properties, it's pretty big. Like we have a cabin that is on a mountain that competes with like sliding rock cabins, and I said this last week, but they're the number one rental, the most, they advertise the most pet friendly cabin management company in the world, or I mean in the universe. It's like their slogan. It's like a mouthful, but it's like their slogan. And so we're dead in the middle of it, and my owner is the avatar that we're serving. So she comes in, she's like, hey, look, I actually called them to see like if they can manage or whatever, and I want to go with you guys because we have like the references. And she said, we need to do what they're doing. And I've never stayed in one of these other cabins. And I just know that, like, based on what she's told me, and then I looked up on the website and stuff, super dog friendly. Pets stay free everywhere on the mountain. Pets stay free, and they have all the other stuff: the leashes, the dog bowls, the dog beds, the crates, and all that. And so she was like, "Look, I'm going to put everything in the house like this." And I was like, "Do it." So that's massive. Now, what about convincing an owner to allow them to have pets? What would you say? I know you've had these conversations because I have too.
Yeah. I think it, just got to, reinforce the fact that you'll have, you'll do the due diligence on the front end with the guests, and, what size pet are they bringing in, how many, also, have clear pet policies for the guests to understand and follow. And then,
that's a tough question because I know what I'm going to say, so I'll just hit you with that.
Yeah. I mean, so, it really.
Go ahead.
At this point now, we've hosted, over 500 guests, and I haven't had any. I think I've had two pet stays that have caused slight damage, and that's it.
So do you ever use that statistic to come to an owner and say, like, hey, I had 500 stays and only had 500 pet stays, and I've had 2. What is that? That's less than a 1% issue.
Right.
It's like a 0.5% issue.
Yeah, it's very minimal, and and the damage that was caused was not. It wasn't anything big.
Yeah. So, do you have insurance? Do you have reservation insurance?
Do we say that again?
Like Wayvo or Safely or?
Oh yeah. Yeah. And so we have Safely as well.
Okay.
And that's another
So
factor for the owners.
So I didn't know this, but I think it's 𝗙𝗏𝗹 or 𝗙𝗏𝗏 does not cover pet damage. So if you're getting so my biggest recommendation as a host is if you're getting into the industry with in the STR field or in the STR market and you want to allow dogs, or I'm sorry, let me back up. If you're a host and you are trying to do this period, but if you're trying to convince people to be pet friendly, and you go after reservation insurance, you want to make sure that they cover pet damage. And Safely does. I know that. I use Safely as well. But it's either 𝗙𝗏𝗹 or 𝗙𝗏𝗏. And you can't get Safely right now if you're under 10 units.
10
they
units,
cut that off. In Q1, they cut it off. So they said I think they're going to go a year, and then they're going to. I had a meeting with their VP of marketing, or relations or sponsorships or something like that. Because we were looking at them coming on and doing a sponsorship with Strategic Investor, and he told me this was the rule that they were going for. So 10 and under 10, they won't touch you anymore. So your two options are 𝗙𝗏𝗹 and 𝗙𝗏𝗏. I'm sure there's others out there, but I don't really know if any others. One of them does not. They do not cover pet damage. So then you have to go back to Airbnb, air cover or VRBO coverage or whatever the case is. So that's the biggest thing that I'm seeing is if you want to support your reason for having pets, the biggest thing is pet damage. Well, we can cover that. Our insurance covers that. So that's a big one. But what and I know I asked you because I already had an idea in mind of what I was gonna say. When you go after an owner, you try to convince them. I had a really luxury property that didn't allow pets because her allergies were so high. And so it took us down a notch, but we had an influencer come through and it went viral and all sorts of stuff. It went viral in 2 weeks, 1 million views. We booked up for 8 months. It was crazy. But we did not allow pets because of allergies. And so that wasn't even a conversation. And she was super allergic to cigarette smoke, pet dander, all sorts of stuff that put her in the hospital. And she was a really good friend of mine, my realtor. So I knew she wasn't lying just to tell me that. I knew how she really was. But I have another property that, I think it also really depends on the product that you have. So I have another property, 2-bedroom, 1 bath, no view, has access to the river, no hot tub in Blue Ridge, and no pets. And we went back and forth, and he's like, I don't need either one because we did okay last year. So then we have this then he switched managers, some other stuff to us. And so now we have this conversation of you did okay last year, but what is okay? So we're at $90 a night at this house to get a book. We can't, this is not a product that I would entertain. This is not a situation that I would want to keep taking on. We found out a lot of information later in the game because I didn't do my due diligence on all this stuff. But we were just taking 2 beds and throwing them in, taking a 3-bed and throwing them in, putting them in the mix. And we're not doing well there. We book on Booking.com, but we book for like I said, 90 to 115 a night, and that is not the product that I'm going for. And so when you have that conversation of well, you need to be pet friendly, and they're like, no, then what do you do? And he won't do it, period. He wants to preserve the floors and some other stuff. So in that situation, I just chalk that up as a loss and say okay, we learn from that, and we'll keep moving on. And then I have another one that does have a hot tub. I only have 2 that don't have pets. 2 that don't have pets. Have another one, best view in Blue Ridge. You can't beat it. Has the hot tub, has the whole 9 yards, beautiful cabin, 2-bedroom, 1 bath, 1 not allow pets. And so I had to pull up some stats. He's like, well, we're thinking about it. I had to pull up some stats of another 2-bedroom, 1 bath that does allow pets. We did $52K there last year. And I had to show him that. And he's like, huh. I was like, well, everything has a price, right? Pets, you allow pets, you have a price. Period. There's a price on it.
Yeah.
It's going to be an extra $3,000 a month. I'm going to allow a pet in my house. If it's going to be at $30 a month, then that doesn't make any sense. So that's a whole nother conversation we have. But we talked last week about like some scenarios. So and this is part of like having a discussion with the owner. Just because you are pet friendly does not mean that all of your reservations are going to be pet friendly. And
Correct.
So one of the situations we talked about last week, and I love this scenario, is like the hubby's at work, looking or wifey's at work, whatever, doesn't matter. They're sitting in the cubicle and they're on their phone and they're thinking about their vacation. And they start scrolling through Airbnb and they wish list this one, they wish list that one because they think they're bringing Milo with them. Like they think in whatever 3 months or 6 months, they're going to bring their dogs with them. They're going to have this plan, all this stuff. The family's coming. So they wish list, and they have like 10 places. They send them to the wifey. The wifey's like, oh yeah, I love these places. Oh, we can bring Milo. Okay, cool. And then like a week goes by and they're like, okay, really down in their vacation. And they're like, all right, are we going to bring Milo? Like, well, I don't know. Maybe we bored them. And then you still have the wish list. And then in a month, they're going to book it. And they realize at this point, half the family's not coming, but it's okay because they love the cabin. They're still going to book, it's in their budget. And they're not going to bring the dog because they're going to get a dog sitter because they don't want to drive 6 hours with the dog in the book. So they go back to the list. You don't really care about saving $100 or whatever it is. They go back to the list of the 10 cabins and they're starting to delete ones off there that they don't really like. Maybe it's too expensive, whatever. Maybe it's not the location they want to be in, and then they book one. But if you're not pet friendly, you're never on that list. So at this point, they started with like 12 people going. Now they're down to 8 and their dogs, and they don't book your property because you never came up in the search.
Right.
You don't even have a pet. So I think that's massive to understand what that process actually looks like, because most of the, like I was talking to my marketing team for the hotel, most of the people that book the trip are not like, hey, I want to go to Orlando, in 6 months. Okay, they open their phone up and they just book it right there. No, they want to go to Orlando. They're scrolling through, they're finding some hotels in a location. They send the spouse a couple of locations and they wait. Then they get home and they go open it up again and they're like, hey, okay, it's going to be $2,000 for the week. Okay, cool. Do we have $2,000? I don't know. And then a week later they get paid and they're like, hey, go ahead and book that trip. Or a month later, hey, go ahead and book that trip. So now it's like this, like revisit the same place so many times and then they book. So, and to understand, like my marketing team, like walked me through that kind of stuff. And there's things I never thought of. I was like, oh my God, I had no idea. You don't really think that way. You just think like, okay, this is the place I want to stay. Save it. I'm going to book it tomorrow, whatever. Like to see that process from search, what is it? Looker to booker. Like they're looking, they look at all those that Mark Simpson says all the time.
Yeah.
Turn lookers to bookers, and understand that process all the way down, and then booking a month later, like all that other search material. It doesn't matter what's came up, like in the new search in that month. Doesn't matter. You're not getting booked because they already have their saved list. And so, like understanding that is super imperative. And it's just so important to understand the process of what a guest goes through, because like a lot of us that are in business a lot, like we don't really think about our process to book. Like we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. We stayed at a place in West Palm Beach to go on a cruise. Never been there. Never been on this cruise line. It was a 2-day cruise. We just booked last minute because we didn't have kids. And I was like, where do we stay in West Palm Beach? Like we need a one night. And I was like, I don't know. So I just Googled like hotels in West Palm Beach. I just needed it for a night because we were just trying to come down there before. So I was like, cheapest place possible. I don't care if it's on the beach. It's just me and Alan. I don't care if it's on the beach or not. Like what's available. I found this like $125 a night place. Show up, there's like 12 hotels in the area, like literally on that block. And I was like, I really didn't research this well. We just booked in a condo lodge for the night or something because the next one up was like $300 more. But when I got there, there's all this stuff in the area. And I was like, I really did not research this. But then you think about like going through that process of somewhere you've never been before, when you go down that like those like line of action items, and when you put yourself back in those shoes of the guest, then you like you fuse it with your booking experience and how people find you. It's very humbling. It's probably the best way I could say it. It's very, very humbling when you go through that process.
Yeah.
But yeah, back to the point of like, if you're not pet friendly, you may never come up in the search. And it may not be the
So-
search, but it may be 2 weeks later. Go ahead.
Yeah. So on that point, another statistic for you. How many, based off of a, I don't know if AirDNA surveyed hosts or they just use their own data, but how many STRs do you think are pet friendly as of January 2024?
I wonder if I can pull that up. I'm gonna look. Saying how many people are pet friendly? Ooh.
What percentage? What percentage of STRs are pet friendly?
I don't know. Oh yeah, I could tell you. Let me log in. I think I can tell you.
No,
I think it's in
I
the-
don't want. Just take a guess. Just take a guess.
In Blue
I have
Ridge,
this number here.
95%. 95%.
Well, all right. So all of STRs.
Oh, like in the world, in the nation?
Yeah.
Percentage. What do I think are pet friendly?
Yeah.
60%.
Of all the listings, 60.
Yeah.
30.
No, 30%.
30%.
Are you serious?
As of January 2024, when they did this research. Yep.
Wow, people, we got some work to do. I did not know it was that low. It
Yeah.
was that low. Holy smokes! I was gonna try to. Well, of course, I can't log into Airbnb. I was gonna try to see what the percentage is in Blue Ridge because I think it's like close to 90%. Because I mean, it's such a touristy market. But 30%, and that's worldwide. That's not just US.
That's all. Actually, I still have the article up.
We got a lot to do, guys. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
We got a lot to do.
Yeah.
30%. Oh my god. Okay.
No, that's just in the United. Sorry, that's just the United States. That's not worldwide.
That's embarrassing. So that shows me how many people are uneducated about being pet friendly.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make it a mission of mine, so that everybody in the world knows that you need to be pet friendly. Like that's really insane. Is that Airbnb listings or that's just STRs period?
That's STRs period. So Vrbo and Airbnb.
Okay. So we got some work to do.
Yep.
So if you're not pet friendly, you need to be pet friendly. And if you don't know why you should be, or you're, don't know how to have the conversation with an owner, rewatch this episode from the start to the finish. Because there's a lot of money to be made, and there's a lot of people struggling in a lot of parts of the country. They don't know why. And, somebody that might have built their listing 3 years ago that was never pet friendly, and they're a self-manager, and they're, keep on going down the line of management for themselves, they may forget that they're not pet friendly because they're not auditing their listing. They don't know. So what we're actually going to do is I'm going to come out with a mini guide to self-management. So everybody who just owns one property, maybe owns 2 properties, they're struggling. Those are kind of the people that we're trying to help on the Build Your STR side for the consulting that we're doing. And I'm scrolling through Facebook groups, and I see more times than not, like I manage one, or I'm looking to buy my first, and I don't even know where to start. So to have something like a mini guide to self-management just to get that ball rolling, because when they go in there and they start asking these questions, like everybody's just like, oh, reach out to me, like I'll teach you how to do it. Nobody's really giving the value. And so if I can just drop a link to a free mini guide, like that just adds enough value. Like, hey, you need to pick a PMS. Hey, you need to be pet friendly. Hey, what are you doing here? Hey, what are you doing here? Like, here's some softwares to start with. Like, this stuff you could Google that stuff, but with the right guidance that doesn't cost anything, like a 4 or 5 page starter guide to self-manage. Right. Like, putting that out there, these people who start and they're like, well, I don't want a pet, but they don't understand the data behind it. Like, those people, like, they can't pay bills. So, and that's a big thing that people don't understand. So we're going to come up with that probably this week or next week. And if anybody that watches this wants that, just send me a DM. It'll be on buildyourstr.com, but I'll also put it in our free Facebook group. So anyways, golly, man, I did not know it was 30%. Okay. So you got anything to add to that?
Not to the 30%, but there is one other big thing regarding pets that we need to touch on before we wrap up, and that is service dogs or service animals.
Okay.
Most pet owners believe that an emotional support animal, an ESA, is a service dog. That is incorrect. A service dog is certified through the American Disability Association, and in order to determine if it's a service dog or an emotional support animal, there are two questions that you as the host can ask them. And the first one being, is the service animal, or is the dog a service animal required because of a disability? Yes or no? And then what work has or task has the dog or animal been trained to perform? So that right there.
You can ask these legally. You can ask these to a guest.
These are the two questions you are legally allowed to ask per the ADA to determine if it's a service animal or not.
I did not know that.
Yep.
I did not know you could
really?
ask those questions.
Okay.
No.
Yep.
No,
yep.
I thought it was illegal that you can't ask for papers, you can't ask for like anything. Like you can say, is it a service animal? If they said yes, you can't ask anything else. That's what I always understood. So I'm completely wrong in that. So please continue, because I did not know this.
Yeah. So those are the two questions. And
so what are the questions again? What are the questions again?
Is the dog a service animal required because of a disability?
Okay.
Yes or no? And then what work or task has the dog been trained to perform? So like those that are trained to detect seizures, they will, they'll alert their owners. The owners will then lay down on the ground, and the dog will lay over the torso of their owner to help minimize the amount of movement that the owner will go through with their, when they're having their seizure. Those that are diabetic, the dogs, the pheromones that your body releases when your blood sugar is low, the dog can sense those, and then is trained to perform a task to alert their owner that, hey, your sugar's getting low, you need to eat, you need to check it, what have you. So those are the two most common for service animals. But again, coming back to the emotional support animal that you can get a certificate online from some random website. Not a service animal.
Yep.
So if and that's another thing, is if a guest offers to provide the certificate, that right there is a dead giveaway that it's not a service animal. More than likely. More than likely.
I like that. Now I know in Georgia, I don't know where it is for you, I think it might be nationwide, you can't deny a service animal, nor can you charge. An ESA, you can't deny an ESA, but you can charge. And then, of course, if it's neither, then it's up to you.
I believe that's nationwide.
Okay, I know it's that way in Georgia because I had to look up the law in Georgia when we started, and I thought it was nationwide, but I didn't know if there was like Cali and New York was out of that because they're always different. So I didn't know if that was for all the states or just Georgia. So either way, okay. So it is nationwide. So we're good. So service animal, you can't you can't deny and you can't charge. If it's an ESA, emotional support animal, you can't deny, but you can charge. And then of course, if it's neither, it's up to you.
Yeah, actually, the ESA might be state specific, so I would check your local regulations on that. But I do know for certain service dogs, you can't charge and you must allow. Okay,
good. I know in Georgia the ESA, like what I was saying. So, all right, perfect. So, that's good. Anything you want to add to that?
No. think we're good.
Okay. All right. So that'll wrap this one up. And then tomorrow I'm running, we're doing a workshop tomorrow for building out a team. So if you need a VA, do you know if you need a VA? Mark's going to come on. We're going to do some stuff. He's going to show some stuff on like what to look for, how to ask questions. How do you know if you need a VA? What task are they going to do? Building a 4R dog, that kind of thing. We're going to do a workshop tomorrow in the group. And then next week podcast, we'll talk about the one thing. So that's what I want to talk about today, this morning, because I was hyped from another meeting that I came out of. But so the one thing next week, tomorrow we have the workshop, and then we're going to be coming out with a mini guide. Do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, if you haven't read the one thing, I highly recommend you go out and read it prior to next week. Knock it out. If not finish it, at least start it, so you get some sort of understanding. But it's a fantastic read. I actually, last year, that was my one repeat read that I kept reading. I think I got through it twice, amongst other books. So
yeah, I have a signed copy from 𝗙𝗲𝗹𝗵𝘁𝗄. And Wendy signed it too. Yeah, it's worth roughly $1 million.
Yeah, benefits of being part of the boardroom, right?
That's right. Yeah, they came up. We got a free book and got them to sign it. They're great people, by the way. Amazing people. Nice. Love to see them two together. Yeah. So, all right. So that wraps up this week.
Great things.
Sweet. Oh, the boardroom?
I got them. Jay and Wendy.
Okay. Yeah, they're good. They're good too. Yeah. All right. So that wraps this one up, and we'll see you guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow on the workshop. Be there.
Yep.
And Jeremy and I will see you next week.
See ya.